My name is Logan. My middle name is James. My last name is Gugu.
Corey, Johnson, Paxton, Nickel. Bees I find are very cool. If there weren't no more bees, there would be no apples and all that.
There won't be no apples, no flowers, and we won't even have no honey, like we can put on our sandwiches or eggs, anything.
I'll just be hungry.
I was doing some research and reading some articles about the loss of bee populations worldwide. In Cape Breton, in Unima'ki, we still have relatively healthy and robust bee populations that aren't showing, as of yet, real problems with these diseases. I was speaking with the Economic Development Officer here in Wagmatcook, the person who was the Economic Development Officer at that time. Her name was Nancy, and very concerned to do useful projects in the community. And she had forwarded to me some information about the Eco-Action Project with Environment Canada. And we got talking about the vital role that the berry fields play in Wagmatcook in medicines and in food supply. And we thought it would be very interesting to do a bee habitat project here in Wagmatcook. So with her help and assistance, we pulled together a proposal to do the project here and received the approval of Chief and Council to move forward with it. So it began there, and then we started having some discussions about traditional diet and traditional medicines, and we realized that here in Wagmatcook First Nation, it's really a stronghold for bee populations because they have a lot of traditional berry grounds, they have a lot of traditional medicine grounds, and a lot of those plants and a lot of those fruits and berries which are used medicinally, their roots are used for medicinal teas, are dependent on those bees.
When I was picking medicines, I noticed, a lot of medicines were shriveling so early. And I think it's because I guess there weren't enough bees to pollinate those plants, and they would slowly shrivel. I'm not a scientist, I'm just an ordinary Mi'kmaq human being that sees the things around me that are affected. And I was always curious. But when I looked at it, it was from the effects of losing bees.
Bees are responsible for somewhere between 40 to 60% of our food supply globally. And that's not just fruit and berries, that's also vegetables, plants that actually animals eat that we use for meat. So moose are eating plants that actually bees are helping to ensure flourish and are healthy.
I didn't know that effect until a while ago. I was shocked that we were losing these bees. And I was wondering why we were losing these bees.
Some of the things we think are impacting them are fungal infections, but we don't really know the factors behind those fungal infections. So it could be that their immune systems are being depleted by a multiplicity of factors, and that's why they're showing these terrible fungal infections. But one thing we do know for certain is that they're being impacted by the use of herbicides and pesticides. One of the things that's happening with our food supply is that these pesticides and herbicides are now being embedded in the seeds so that they grow up through the stalk of the plant and into the berry or into the flower. And the bees are being exposed to them that way even when they're not being sprayed, and they're dying off and becoming very, very ill.
Pretty shocking to see how affected these bees are, and how important it is for us to turn around and the people around us to know that we need to do something.
So here in Wagmatcook, we had an area where those substances were not being used, where we had a robust bee population. And what they had produced is very important to the culture. This is almost the fruit belt of the area. So not knowing for sure how these populations are being affected, but knowing that we have a reasonably healthy population, we decided to do a bee habitat project here. We've been working with the children. We've created some wildflower gardens, been careful to use the type of seeds that won't affect bees, and planted them up on the hill behind the school. We've also been able to do some sessions with the children in the school and show them the wide variety of foods that bees produce and have them taste those. We've had them taste some natural honey that's produced here on the island.
The more information that we gave them, the more response we got back from them.
Monica Rose Gugu.
Xavier Etney, Richard Cody Isidore. Bees are kind and good.
And they make little beehives, and they like to make honey.
They're yellow, and they make nests. Let's go how they make a hive up in the trees. Oh, and they get nectar for honey. They make honey.
Children are interested with nature, and with Mother Earth and the consequences that she's dealing with, and it draws them into the effect of work. What can we do as children?
When we first asked them in the classroom, what do you know about bees? They said they sting you and they hurt you.
Robert Joseph Gugu. I don't really like going close to them.
They sting people.
That's like what it means sometimes. Like if you butter their nests, they won't like it.
We know that bees need nectar. They pollinate, trees, plants and all. But I can't tell you in a scientific way. I could tell you in a native way of how I see it. And the way I see it is like, the depletion of bees is causing the depletion of our medicines. Some of those medicines are, cow parsnip, ragweed, burdock, trees themselves, silver birch, yellow birch, white ash. All these trees that are here, there's a reason for these trees. These are slowly diminishing. And I see that effect. The reason why I see that effect is because things are starting to rot. When they start to rot, it tells me that they're not well pollinated. All these types of plants were used medicinally. And my mother used a lot of them, but I only paid attention to certain things, But she knew a lot. The dandelion that she used a lot, she made teas out of it. We have red clover, that's an antibiotic there that's, people could eat just right off the top, The other would be golden thread, that's another one that's affected too a lot. And it's hard to find, I mean, you can find it in mossy areas, but there's got to be a certain type of mossy area where it sits and lies. It used to be abundance. Now you have to go into certain areas to find it. Tea berries too, yeah. Tea berries do a lot of work on the human body itself, Cattails, lily pads.
We are also creating some nesting boxes for the bees, and those get planted in the ground, and there's a little tube that comes up through the ground, and the bees go down through that tube, and they have a good habitat so that they can flourish, we can increase their populations, and the children will be helping us do that.
This is where the hose is going to go.
Cutting.
Show you in a minute.
I know you get the camera.
Creepy.
Okay.
There's a big
Piece
saw.
of
Do
hose.
these actually work for the bees?
Yes, it does.
Did somebody put...
And this part here comes out of the ground, and this will be just sticking out of the ground. Mm-hmm. And the bees will go in through here.
Oh, we're gonna put this.
And then when they travel through this hose, they'll come in through here.
Yes.
And then they'll build their nest. Here. You won't see the wood because it'll be underground.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll be sticking out of the ground is this hose. So people can't invade with the bees. They can't turn around and bother the bees, or they probably wouldn't even see the hive. What?
You mean tubes?
Yeah, the tube sticking out
And
the.
hide it with leaves around.
Yeah, exactly.
My box is already done.
My box?
Xavier?
Oh,
my box is already done.
My box is right there. Oh.
We're gonna make a big hole, put it in the ground, but keep the tube out, put leaves in there so nobody won't see it.
Today now we're taking, as Mi'kmaq people, we're taking responsibility on how to teach our children and how to teach our people. We got to take responsibility to save these insects. As native people and non-native people, we got to learn to work together, in this aspect, because this is a critical thing that's happening to the bees. I know people are afraid of bees, but we got to find ways of helping protect the bees and make the people understand, they're not here to sting you, they're not here to fight you, or learn how to properly handle the bees, properly displace them where they have to be displaced.
My dad, we found a beehive behind my house before, and then we took it down and checked if there's anything in there, and then my dad kept it in his room hanging.
In my way of dealing with nature, there's a balance. There's a balance. And when you interrupt that balance, Mother Nature will take her course. The Creator will even do worse. There's so many biologists are trying to find answers towards why this is happening. I'd be lying to you if I told you, I do know what happened to them, and I don't, Most, who would know all that, and I'm not lying to you, is Mother Nature, and the Creator. In Wagmatcook, when we taught this to the children, it was just like a flower opening, When a flower starts opening, it opens up slowly. Well, that's the same effect in Wagmatcook here. It's going to have that same effect all around the world. And this is where it starts.
I'm gonna tell my kids, bees are cool. You should make boxes just like the ones we made. And then if this happens again, they can do the exact same thing what we did.
I'm telling my kids make boxes for bees, and
We can teach them. We can teach them all about the bee things too.
You give them the tools, and those tools don't get dull, they keep them sharp, they'll prosper. And other people get curious and try to understand really, what's going on, and help each other as one. That's why it was important for Wagmatcook to have this at their school, to see that they can turn around and make a change.
And we so appreciate the support of Chief and Council in moving this project forward, and the school and the teachers who allowed us to work with the kids, and we know that they're going to become future guardians and leaders with respect to the bee populations.